So our first talk of the morning is going to go about a very interesting topic, something that I think is going to be talked for a long time, especially the moment that driverless cars hit the road, which is, I don't know, you might correct me, but I would say 5 to 7 years in the coming, but more or less. Some people will say 20, but I would actually bet for 5. So our next speaker comes, even though he's very young, he's actually been working in a lot of the cutting-edge technology that's happening right now in the automotive industry. So for a while, he was within the smart mobility team as a developer, so he actually knows a lot of stuff about developing. And currently, he's the business strategy analyst at Ford, at the group that's doing the connected service team. So basically, he's going to give us an overview of, and I believe you guys have created this term, like make it drivable, the drivables. That's a term that comes from your team and how to do developing for automotive. So please welcome our next speaker, Andreas Brokers from Ford.
Thank you. Hey, good morning. All right. So topic is make it drivable, and what stands out is probably the word drivable, and as you just announced, is a term that came up. We were sitting in a meeting, and we were talking about smartphones, about devices, IoT, and then obviously about wearables, about smartwatches and stuff like that. And then, since we were working in the connected vehicle and services department of Ford, we actually thought, you know what? We build drivables. We want people to make their apps drivable. So we came up with that term, and now it's basically our new slogan, and I hope that during the presentation that term will make more sense to you. So smartphone and car goes hand in hand. I think everybody here has a smartphone, be it Android, be it iOS, be it Windows Phone. And I think nowadays we do so many tasks with our smartphone. And as you can see, for example, here, the mobile usage, opening emails in 2015 was then 68% on mobile devices, which is basically a whole shift of all that usage of your data. It's all in the cloud, you always have it with you. And also the digital media usage, you can see it increased from 2013 to 2015. It goes more and more in the direction of mobile devices. So what's the problem right here? We all do our commute, we probably drive a lot, so we also want to consume that data and that media while we're driving. So this is basically our mantra for our whole project, and we say eyes on the road, hands on the wheel. Because once you're in the car, you should drive, you should focus on the car, on the road, and on your driving. And this is a bad example. You can see a guy sitting in the car on the highway and using his mobile phone. So the problem right here is obvious. We can see in that chart, I pulled out some charts from the internet, that like people in their 20s are close to 50% using a smartphone while driving or sending a text message. And in the lower right, you can see that 39% of drivers in their 20s were in a fatal crash and used a smartphone. So how do we try to solve that problem, that you want to bring your data, your media, all your apps into the car, use it while driving in a safe way? There are a couple of solutions, and my colleague touched base on that yesterday briefly. So there are built-in solutions, which is basically also an embedded navigation, but also some manufacturers embed some certain connectivity systems in their cars for users and drivers to consume their media. There are beamed-in solutions, which would be satellite radio, and there are broad-in solutions. So back to the smartphone, we all own a smartphone, so why not take the smartphone, which has all our data and all our settings, with us in the car and use it in a safe way. So basically, what the technology is Ford is using is called AppLink, and that's a broad-in solution because it's all dependent on your smartphone, on your settings, and on your data. So let me quickly explain what that technology is about. So here you can see a Ford car interior with its 8-inch capacitive touchscreen. And in the bottom, you see an iPhone with an app on the left not connected to the system, and then on the right, after you connected it to our system. So what happens is that the app then shows up on the dashboard of the car, and the user can now control it via touch on the screen, or via steering wheel controls, or even via voice. So now you can leave your phone in the dashboard, and you can actually voice control your app without even having to touch your phone. This is done by we basically distribute a package, a library, to app developers so that they can then communicate with our Ford vehicles. So what is AppLink in detail? We can control a smartphone app and the interface through the vehicle's HMI, so you do not have to touch your phone. You can use the steering wheel to skip songs. You can use the steering wheel to voice control your app, saying that you need to find something with your favorite parking app, for example. So it works with iPhone and Android right now, and the most important part is it enforces driver distraction policies. Back to that image of the guy using the smartphone in the car. So if we just would allow to mirror the screen in the car to make it a bit bigger, wouldn't solve that problem. So we actually have like a template approach, which means apps can fill data on the screen, but only in certain aspects. The buttons are restricted, and so it's in a safe way, and the driver is not distracted. It reduces cost of time in market, because otherwise, if you want to have your app, your media in the car, you would probably have to develop something embedded. And then it allows developers to retain branding in the vehicle, meaning you see your app in the car, your app shows up in the car actually. It has your app icon, it has all your identity, and it actually also eliminates the fear of product obsolescence, meaning our development in the car industry, and we know that, it's quite slow. It takes some time. If we have developed something, life cycle is usually way longer than, for example, a mobile app. So imagine you have a mobile app right now, and you embed it into a car. That's fine. Next week, it gets updated. Some apps get updated on a bi-weekly, on a weekly basis. That's just not possible if you embed it. So we as a car manufacturer have to be very careful embedding such solutions. And also, as the developer of said solutions, he also then has to make sure that it will be available through the whole life cycle. So engagement model, it's a very abstract example, but this is a mobile app. Those triangles show use cases of said mobile app on the phone. So we have certain use cases. Let's say, for example, it can stream music and so on. So what we do is we work with mobile app developers and face-to-face usually provide them with assistance and guidance. We show them our technology, and then we actually work with them, go through all of their use cases which are available on the phone or soon to be available on the phone if that software does not exist yet. And then we talk with them. Do that make sense in a car? Would you do that while driving? And is that safe to use while driving? So certain use cases might disappear, might not be able to use in car. I'll have some examples later. But on the other hand, you can say, but now you're in the car. What are use cases you haven't thought about? What is some stuff that might be for in-car usage only? Meaning, now you're driving. We actually give access to a lot of the vehicle data. So now your app actually can access, if the user allows, GPS and fuel level. So what new use cases could be made available, which are not available in the native app? So use cases. There are a couple examples now, so I think that now it's better for you to understand. First example would be we have a software and it's working on my phone, and now I connect it to our head unit. And what this basically means is I drive away from home to work, and I forgot to set my alarm in my home. So the app actually taps into the vehicle data, checks the GPS of the vehicle, knows I'm driving away from home through geofencing, and then actually gives me an alert, not on the phone as a notification so that I have to check, but actually in the car, a pop-up that you have not set your alarm and that the app thinks you're going away from home, and if you want to arm the alarm. And then you can choose, for example, yes, and then that system gets back to the app, the user just pressed yes, and the app does its thing. But that just happened in a very safe manner without the user having to check for a notification on his phone or even check manually if the alarm is set. So now, real examples, real world, our partners. A big one is Spotify. So what we do, this is, as you can see, left is native app. On the right-hand side is the implementation in the car. So we met with them a couple of times. They actually started developing their first version doing a challenge we did, during like a hackathon. And we had face-to-face support, and it's so easy. After that hackathon, they actually had a first version running. So what we did is we talked through all the features of the app, because they want to make it drivable, they want to make it useful in the car. So certain features are very good and should be adapted for in-car usage, but certain features certainly not. So for example, we're driving on the highway doing 150, and then you go to Spotify's free music search, and the keyboard pops up, and you enter an artist. Very unsafe, so we said, sure, go ahead. If we do the integration into our cars, we leave that full text search, we leave it out. And then there were also some other talks, like what could you do, what can you, how's the process of, for example, switching to your favorite playlist on the phone, and how could we make it easier to do it in the car? What voice commands would you naturally use to actually switch from, in that case, Coldplay to a more classical music? So we work with app developers trying to find those use cases, trying to find those solutions that the app is able to work in the car in a safe way. Another good example is NTV and Die Welt. Both are German apps, German news apps. And again, on the left-hand side, you see the native one. On the right-hand side, you see the in-car. So this is very special because, as you can see on the left-hand side, it looks like your usual news application. You got some images, you got the live ticker, you got some stock information, and you probably also have a lot of articles and maybe even videos. So how could you possibly use that in the car? How is it possible that an app, which basically only consists out of articles, text articles, and videos, how could you make that available in the car? We do not allow to populate the whole screen with an article, for example, while driving, or even while not driving. So we worked with them, and they actually did customer clinics with human voice actors who actually read out their articles so that they then can be made available in the car. So they, as I said, did clinics. How often would you listen to that? How many articles do you think it's feasible and would you listen to? What kind of pitch of voice do you like? So they did all that, and in the end, they had a very nice product. And what those apps now do, as opposite of their native app, is they give you push notifications from the background for breaking alerts, breaking news, and if you go into the app, as you can see on the right-hand screen there, they actually read out articles for you. And then the third one is new opportunities, basically. So my Boxman, again, an example my colleague had a quick description about yesterday. It was an app it was an app developer who came to us in a challenge in Dublin. And we hosted that challenge, meaning we did a 24-hour challenge to develop a mobile app which could work with our system. And he had a very good idea, but the app was not finished yet. So he came with an unfinished app, and obviously without car integration. So he was there the whole night, and he actually developed the app to work with the system. On the left-hand side, you can see there is a map and so on. So what that app does is it allows you to pick up packages and basically rent out your trunk when you're going somewhere to earn some money. So if you have a package, you post it on that My Boxman page, and if I open the app, I can see available packages around me. I can pick it up, I can bring it to wherever you want it to, and I get some money, and you have your package shipped. So we have the map view on the left. So what did he do? We actually, again, used the vehicle data and checked with GPS once I get into the car if there are any packages available around me, and if I want to take it because the destination is close to my actual destination. So he has a list of packages close to him, and then he can actually navigate to them. So that means your app is even more integrated into the car, since it can then open up the embedded navigation and start navigating to your destination. Once there, you confirm pickup, you load, the package distributor confirms the pickup, and you go to your destination. So this app wasn't finished, had no app-link integration at all, and they participated, as I said, in a challenge in Dublin, and they are now launched with Ford, app-link enabled, and we announced them as a partner, as a working app with AppLink at MWC Mobile World Congress this year. So there are opportunities, even though there are not fully fleshed out ideas for developers. Is there an existing app? Is there a non-existing app? If you have an idea, if you can use vehicle data and use the vehicle's HMI to help a user consume your app while driving, there's always opportunity. Which brings me basically to that slide. So it's Sync AppLink, we got a developer program. And the big thing here is not we build drivables, but we love startups. So very old company, very slow company, Ford. We are in the automotive industry, and it takes some time for us to actually develop our products. But once we have developed those, it has a long life cycle, as I said. So what we possibly want to work with startups. With that program, we actually want to work with startups, as I said, because we want to bring media which users consume into the car, excuse me. We want to bring apps into the car so that drivers can use them in a safe way. That's basically the technology I wanted to touch base on, and I left some time for questions if you have any. Thanks.
So Andreas, thank you very much. So do we have any questions, guys? First one over there.
Good morning.
Morning.
Thank you very much. Two questions. One is, who is the owner of the data? So who has to, is the user who has to have the permission for access the data? What kind of data you can access from
Sure.
the app?
So whenever an app or a developer requests data from the car, it goes at first through our backend has to approve that an app can access that data, and whenever an app wants to access that data, I'll come to data sets later, the user actually has to consent that the app gets that data. So the vehicle, if the user then says yes, and the app, for example, subscribes to GPS, the car would update the GPS position to the app every second. We have a huge set of vehicle data. We actually have a documentation on our developer site, which is, by the way, developer.ford.com. We have stuff ranging from GPS to belt status, speed, also fuel. Right now, it depends on the architecture of the vehicle, but you can see the full list on our portal.
Question? No more questions, guys? Well, I have a question.
Sure.
So this is what's happening right now.
Mm-hmm.
But what is the app environment going to look like when you take the driving part out of it? Where, the security doesn't, in terms of the physical integrity, doesn't matter anymore when you don't have to drive because the car drives for you.
Right, I think that the whole interaction with the car and with the infotainment system might change once we reach a certain level of autonomous driving. But still, that's a solution which is out right now and has been out for a while, actually, also on our older vehicles. So there needs to be a solution for the next years where we, even though we start with autonomous driving and go through the different levels, if that's a known thing, the level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we still need said solution. And I think that that solution can maybe open up as higher we go through the levels of autonomous driving. Sure.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I have another question regarding the users in the back seats.
Yeah.
Is Ford going to develop other, stuff like films and other things for, to be used not for the driver, but for the kids, for instance?
So that technology actually is completely aimed at the driver. That one I just explained, meaning once you connect it, you can actually should not, and cannot use that app on your phone because it's, as I said, tailored to the driver and not even the person on the passenger seat. Back row, there might be possibilities to also add screens, and then obviously the screens in the background would have different permissions in regards to driver distraction, which that's why it's called driver distraction, than the main screen, I'd say. So technically possible, I say yes.
Okay.
Thanks very much. Would you see it as being a source of particular competitive advantage for Ford, the technology that you're working on? How would this compare with other manufacturers? And ultimately, is it actually going to help you sell any more cars?
Right. So how does it compare? There are very many different kind of technologies for in-car usage of, in that case, mobile apps. For example, there's that screen mirroring. Also, basically partially done by Google and Apple with Android Auto and CarPlay. But then there's also installed into the car by a dealership, for example, or even the OEM during manufacturing. And then there is a combination of both. And we decided to stick to our brought-in solution, means everything stays on the phone, even the connection of the internet, your data, and so on. So what the car actually is it serves as a secondary display and enables usage of voice and the controls, but all the data, the brain, everything remains on the phone. So to stick to that example, is if you take your phone out and buy another car, or get to an older car, or switch cars, it would work the same. All the data, all the settings, they would work the same. So that's what we ultimately did as a decision to go with AppLink as a brought-in solution instead of like built-in or pre-installed, and help us sell more cars. I mean, we have to go with the flow, I'd say, and users actually want to use their apps, and it's not only to sell more cars, but it's also to, I think, make a statement that we want to have users use their apps, but in a safe way.
One final question, please. Just one.
Thank you. It's Ford thinking to, well, basically you said that it's going to be one direction communication, so from the phone to the HMI, right? Is Ford thinking to actually providing information from the car to the mobile phone?
Oh, that's the vehicle data I was talking about.
The vehicle data, so you actually transmit CAN networks signals to the telephones?
Exactly. Okay. So there is a rich data set we make available through AppLink, which can then be subscribed to, and then the app notifies, the car notifies the app of data changes, be it GPS, be it speed. So the app can actually, the only thing the app can write into the car is on the display, but it can, if the user consents and if it has permissions, it can read a lot of stuff, yes.
Okay.
All right.
Well, that was it. Andreas, thank you very much for your talk. Guys, thank you very much.